Hey everyone. So this video is just going to be me talking about the trend at the minute. I know I'm a little behind on the times here because this has been going on for like 3 years now. But the whole trend of realizing how much baby boomers suck. And I think more pity should be taken on the boomers than most people are willing to give. I think that the boomers are undoubtedly the worst generation in terms of impact that they've had socially, economically, etc., etc. But you also need to take into account the circumstances that they grew up in and the fact that, in all likelihood, you would have done the exact same thing as the rest of them had you been born in that time period. Like, I know everyone likes to talk about kind of like the 60s revolutions where they completely rewrote the social understanding and the relationship understanding between the sexes, you know what I mean? And economically, they're hoarding all the wealth and they're spoilt, etc., etc. But look at the time that they grew up in, you know? They started with the advent of TV, which was way worse than you'd be able to understand if you didn't really try and break it down with the context of what humans originally used to function like. Where we're not built to see things on a screen or see events between people on a screen, because throughout all of human history, we've adapted so that everything that we see visually is true. And so we, of course, our generation, we've grown up with that being the norm and knowing from the get-go that the screen can lie. You know what I mean? But even then, you'll find yourself falling for all sorts of things. Like my videos, for instance, you know, that's the least controversial example I could pick, would be that if I was to make videos repeating an idea over and over again, and if one of you decided to just keep watching each of these videos over and over again each time I uploaded one, I would indoctrinate you into that idea. You're not immune to it. You know what I mean? And neither were the boomers, except they had the lowest level of armor out of every single generation that's ever had digital media. Because it came into existence during their childhoods, or some of them their teen years, some of them when they were babies. And that's what made them so malleable to all the what we now see as negative social causes. Because the same thing I was just saying about repetition, about propaganda. Imagine that, but you have no defense whatsoever. There is no reason, there's no PSA telling you that the screen can lie, because the screen is the figure of authority after all. The screen's kind of proposed every single idea that the government and the experts wanted everyone to believe. And so, of course, they believed it, because they thought that the society had their best interests at heart, because their parents had raised them that way, that society did have their best interests at heart. And not just that, but also the economic prosperity. Like, every single child that gets what it wants is going to end up spoiled to some degree, unless the kid for some reason ends up super wise and is able to tear those walls down. They'll probably stay like that forever. And barest minimum, the best possible case, they will have gone through a phase of being spoiled. Such as myself, where I still think I'm spoilt in ways that I don't yet understand. But there are a lot of things I was a lot more spoilt on when I was younger, in my teen years, that I at least strongly believe that I've now overcome. And the prosperity that the boomers faced, coming after the World War II destruction, and with the generation that fought in World War II that was looking to rebuild and prosper as fast and as intensely as possible, of course that would set a precedent when you're growing up that expansion is forever. And if you aren't expanding and your wealth isn't growing, then something is severely wrong. And so when you see all these people on YouTube, or even in person nowadays, complaining about everything that the boomers kind of gobbled up like dragons, you kind of go, yeah, but it makes sense for the mindset. I think Sam Hyde had a good quote on this where he said their anxiety to maximize. I think that's a great way of phrasing the boomer mind, right? But you have to understand that you do the same thing, just with a different context. Like, for instance, you see everyone looking for social capital. You know what I mean? On social media. I'm doing it right now myself. Of course, part of me making these videos is virtuous, I suppose. And I can say that honestly, is that part of it is really me trying to give information that I think not everyone has, or conclusions that not everyone's reached, because I've had a few special circumstances that have led me to this point, you know what I mean? And it's me trying to share this to people who I think it would benefit, but also part of it is that there's social capital to it. That it makes my brain buzz if I get views, you know what I mean? As it would with everyone, because it's a form of popularity and status. It's you're upping yourself on the hierarchy. And we've grown up around that kind of thing being extremely important. We've grown up with social media. Like me specifically, I don't remember a time where social media didn't exist. And so it was normal to me that everyone was looking for social media points. And naturally that became a system of, again, of hierarchy. So much so that even in my teen years, I have a little story about this. I went and I made a meme account. And I was too anxious and I was too kind of, too much of a little sado to take credit for it at first. And I made a meme account about my school. And I kept it anonymous again because I was a little sado. But it got popular. Everyone was following it. And the absolute high that I used to get from that was awesome. It was the peak of my high school life, of knowing that I was the mastermind behind this popular thing. And in the end, it fell apart because I let another guy into the account, and then my parents and my sisters kind of said, that was a terrible idea, you should remove him. And I panicked and removed him, but then didn't tell him why. And then of course, I didn't give him the real reason because I was scared to tell him. And then in the end, there was kind of a feud. He locked me out the account, and then he took credit for it, etc., etc. And I hated it at the time, but honestly, looking back now, I'm kind of like, fair enough. That's a completely fair reaction. If I had been a healthier, more strong-willed individual and someone had done that to me, I probably would have done the same thing, so no hard feelings towards the guy that did it. But just a little side story. But the point is that kind of social validation is the exact same thing that we covet. It's our boomer wealth. You know what I mean? It's Gen Z's boomer wealth, where we have the anxiety to maximize our views, to maximize our followers, to maximize our appearance online. And unless you're someone that's able to overcome that, or if you're someone who's skilled enough to be of the elites in this field, so to speak, you're just as bad as every boomer. It's just, again, your circumstances. And I know, of course, I'm still making these videos, but if I was really only trying to maximize those views, I'd be a bit more manipulative and I'd be playing into the boomer trend, because people are much more likely to sit out and listen to something that they already agree with rather than listen to something that is critiquing what they're doing right now this instant, you know? So I could have made a video where I was going like, yeah, boomers suck, yeah, boomers do all this, but it's old, it's drawn out, it's already been talked about, you've already thought about that idea, and now it's time to level up into something a bit more wise, and to level up into something where you go, how does this reflect me?